Good morning, folks. I've been out here working in the garden, clearing out all the weeds. And look at this. This is a dwarf kale. It doesn't look dwarf, but that's a kale. It come up on its own. Never planted it. You know, all of this big pile here, I took out of this. And I know you're going to ask, why did I let it grow so tall? Well, here's the thing. A lot of what we call weeds, like this is my oregano, or as they like to call it, Italian oregano. And it's like choking out my chives. See my chives here? It's my chives. And this is my herb garden. And I did not know that this one was going to get so big. It's actually choked out my parsley, and I had a little bit of basil going, and it's done choked it all out. And so I'm going to have to take the chives out and move them onto this side. That way I don't lose all my chives. But this is why you don't totally kill all the plants. This is a celery. And it's going pretty darn good. And it's in with my strawberries. As you can see, they're blooming. And I still need to weed eat a little bit. But yeah, they're doing really well. And so I was out here today. You know, it's that time of year where we start looking at things, and I wanted to show you a plant that here locally we call deer spinach. This little plant right here, this is deer spinach, and it is very edible. You can boil it like spinach, you can eat it raw. It's spinach. Right? It's another form of spinach. And if you have deer around, they will eat it to the ground. Right? It's very prolific. It will grow in very dry. As you see, my garden is very dry soil, very poor soil. And all the rest of that is what we like to call Carolina geraniums. So this bed I got to pull everything out of. Right? And this is how big around that will get. I mean, it was about this tall. It's about 8 to 9 foot tall, and it will spread very prolifically. So be aware of that. And it tosses seeds everywhere. Here's another one. Right? So you want to be aware of that when you plant those. And see, I've got more chives going along here. And look at this garlic. Holy cow, this garlic is huge. So I might actually pull that garlic because it is really huge, and it might be taking some of the vitamins from the soil for the lemon tree, which has got a couple leaves on it, and it's green. So I'm hoping it'll bounce back. But I think over here, I think this lemon tree, you see, there's no green on it. So I'm going to give it about another month and then see if maybe it bounces back. But my lime tree has got green on it. And as you can see, it doesn't have any leaves on it, but it is green. So hopefully that survived. We can hope, right? But yeah, it's always nice to find free vegetables popping up on their own. Now here's my onions, and you remember I planted those like 2 weeks ago, and look at them. They are just going like mad right now. See there? And I haven't planted anything in here yet. I was gonna try and put cucumbers in here, but I don't know. I had kale in it last year, so I'll have to look at the soil and see. You know, it's rich soil. I got very rich soil. Now, the way I got this rich soil was I took debris from the yard. Okay, let's walk back here and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So, what I do is I take all the leaves, all the branches, all of that, and some of it I burn in the burn barrel, right? But some of it I just pile up here. And I just pile it up and let it go. And when you dig down, you come up with very rich, dark soil. And so that's what I use, right? And I don't take all of the fruit out of my beds because, or my barrels, because see there, that's growing. I leave a couple, and this is my potatoes, and my potatoes are coming up all by themselves. I haven't planted these. These are coming up on their own. So that's all potatoes, all different varieties of potatoes. So you want to do that. That way you can have free vegetables. And yeah, you'll lose 1 or 2 potatoes by leaving the little teeny little seed potatoes in the ground, but come spring, like it is here, they'll pop right up. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little teeny little plant right there. That's a tomato. Now, how a tomato got way over here when I planted the tomatoes way over there, I have no earthly idea. But we're going to leave it alone, let it grow a little bit bigger, and see what it does. And the chickens are watching me because, see how fat they are? They are watching me because I've been working in the garden, and they know they're going to get all those weeds. So, win-win. They eat the weeds, I eat the eggs, and the ground becomes composted, right? So, yeah, win-win. Think about what you can do for free, and you can come up with a whole bunch of ideas. And look at here, this garlic's going too. This is pretty, and I haven't done anything. Let me get that dandelion out of there. I haven't done anything. I'm just letting them go. And just checking my plants. Look here, that right there. That right there, you think that's grass. That's not grass. That's actually an onion. See there? That is actually an onion. And it's down in there deep. So I can't pull it out right now. But it's a little teeny little onion. It's about this big. It's a little teeny little wild onion. And I would show you that in the yard, but I cut the yard last week. See here? Here's some of it. This is some of it right here. This is wild onion. Right? Now the way you can tell is you see it sends out, it almost looks like chives. Okay? It's got a real rounded stem, and it sends out in little bunches, right? Compared to regular grass, which is, if you can see, regular grass has more of a flat stem. See that? So that's how you can tell the difference, especially if it's really tall. And grass kind of tends to clump all together. See? See here? Here's some really good grass. This is alfalfa grass, blue-green, from Kentucky. I had a couple bags of it. I just threw it out here. And, yeah. that's what we got going on today. And I'm sorry this is a little bit late, but you know, as you can see, I've been just a little bit busy. I still got this entire bed right here to go through and clear out, and I got the couple beds there, raised beds, I got to finish. And then we're going to take our 2-liter bottles and we're going to cut the top off, and we're going to save the top, and we're going to drill holes in the bottom. And the reason you do that, and I put it on a tray out here, I saved the top because if you're like me, you got all these birds everywhere, and they just watching you to see what you plant, so they can come in and eat your seeds. So if you take the top and you put it on top of the 2-liter bottle, it prevents the birds from being able to get into your 2-liter bottle and take your seeds. So that's how I start them. I start them on the little tray like I got right there, and I just got about 8 or 9 2-liter bottles in that tray, and I put the water in the tray, and I plant my tomatoes that way. And then when my tomatoes get to where it starts looking like I can see the roots along the side of the 2-liter bottle, I dig them a hole, and I slice the side of the 2-liter bottle and cut it off from around the roots, and very carefully, got to be careful, very carefully put it in the ground. Now by that time the tomato plant is probably about 1 foot to 2 foot tall, and I could leave them in the 2-liter bottle, but then they would get what they call root bound, so you won't get a lot of production out of that tomato plant. But if you start them that way and very carefully put them in the ground and just gently move the roots out a little bit so they're not twisted, they'll grow real tall. I did that with my sunflowers, and about 3 years ago, and I might plant a couple sunflowers this year, I don't know, but they got about 12 foot tall doing it that way. If I had just planted the sunflowers out in the yard, the birds would have ate every one of them. So that's why I have the toppers on my garden beds, is kind of when I do plant from seed in the garden beds, I don't want the birds coming to get the seeds, so I cover the garden beds back up with the plastic, and the birds can't get in there, right? So you got to be smarter than your predators in the area, and that's what we're doing today. And I hope that's a couple helpful tips for you. As you can see, my hands are all dirty because I've been pulling weeds, but yeah. And we got our pool set up. Our pool is still kind of cloudy, you know, so we're kind of going through the put shock in it, clean it, put shock in it again, let it sit for a week, put shock in it again. So by the time June comes around, my pool will be ready to swim in. So yeah, and the bumblebees are out all over the blueberries because the blueberries are blooming everywhere. So that's all I've got for you today, and I hope my tips help you a little bit, and we're gonna go back at it because we're still working on our lawnmower, and we haven't got that done yet. So we'll talk at you later. Bicycle.